Good evening at magandang gabi sa inyong lahat. It's around 7 p.m. Thursday here in sunny Wellington. And I would like to welcome you all to our episode 1 of PaNZIT Professional Podcast. How are you today, Joseph?
Oh, it's been a long day, Mike. I must say I've had a number of meetings, but nevertheless, it's productive. It's always nice speaking to our customers, and it's a very productive day, but all good.
And how about you, Darryl?
It's a typical manager day there, Mike. It's meetings, spreadsheets, and emails. You know, all of those things that we get educated, and we work for 30 years to go to meetings and do emails.
Yeah.
But have you guys have dinner yet?
Oh, funny you asked, Mike, because I had a bit of a cookie in here. I haven't had dinner. I must admit, I kind of miss the Filipino food though. Adobo, caldereta. It's yummy. How about you, Darryl?
I've had dinner. I arrived home from work starving. So.
Hey, all right, Darryl. Just out of curiosity, like for example, in the Philippines, we have like a national dish. Probably it's adobo, Mike. You reckon, right?
Yeah.
If I ask you now for Kiwis, what's the national food of the Kiwis for New Zealand?
I guess it's a hard one. I mean, New Zealand's been a very multicultural country, so there's a lot of different food choices. Yeah. But and it's all going to sound very boring. But the typical New Zealand dish is meat and 3 vegetables. So you'll have your steak or your chops with your potatoes and your peas and your carrots, sort of thing. That's probably as close.
Well, I actually thought, Mike, it's fish and chips.
Oh well, or pie, the famous pie. Yeah, But anyway, going back to what we want to do here. This episode, we're going to talk about Darryl, who is our previous boss when we were working in Datacom, and Darryl actually helped us a lot to transition and become accustomed to the culture on working with New Zealanders or the Kiwis, as well as helping us to adapt to the new life here by giving us a platform to actually show our skills in Datacom. And today, Darryl, we're going to talk to you about stuff that I think will interest our listeners. But before we go there, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Sure. And just on your comment, I think we gave you too much opportunity to learn and grow. You both got so good at what you were doing, you got up and left.
Oh my God! Thanks. Okay.
Yeah. So my name's Darryl Taylor. I'm the Oracle and Universal Database Technology Manager for Australia and New Zealand for Datacom. How did I get to where I am? This is my 34th year in IT. I've been a COBOL programmer. I've been an Oracle DBA. I've managed platform teams. I've managed data centers, database teams, Unix and Linux teams, middleware teams. So I've done an extensive amount, broad spectrum of stuff across the IT industry to get to where I am today. That's all that.
Yeah, so I'll ask you a little bit more personal question, because we want this conversation at least to show our listeners what do we do on our daily life here as a Kiwi in New Zealand. So where do you come from, or where are you from, and tell us about your hobbies, for example, if you have any, and what keeps you busy really.
Spreadsheeting, Mike. That's my hobbies, mate. So I'm from Dunedin, which is at the bottom of New Zealand.
That's right.
It's probably a bit cooler than most of the rest of the places around the country, but it's also the best part of the country down there. I moved up here to Wellington. Where am I now? Probably almost 30 years ago. Yeah. To just mainly for work reasons. As I said, I've been in the IT industry for in my 34th year. Wow. But so naturally, you've got to, as you say, find things to keep yourself busy outside of work as well. I'm an officer in the New Zealand Cadet Forces. So the Philippines has a cadet program as well, I believe.
Yes.
So I've been doing that for 30 years. I'm a major in cadet forces. Family history is one of the things I spend a lot of time doing as well, researching my family history. I know my origins go back to England, Ireland, and Scotland, and that's as exciting as it gets. And really just doing things with my family.
Nice.
Yeah,
And
cool.
just to mention, Mike, we almost entered the reservists as well for the Army.
Yeah.
I remember we attended an orientation on that, Darryl. But unfortunately, they won't accept me because of my long hair.
Yeah.
Well, that's easily fixable there, Joseph.
Well,
I can sort that out for you in a couple of minutes.
That's it. But Darryl, you mentioned that, of course, you spoke about your ancestry, but I thought you're a full-blown Kiwi. And as a Kiwi, what do you reckon is unique about New Zealand when it comes to other countries as a workplace, when it comes to our workplace culture? What differentiates us from, for example, from the UK, from Canada, from the US? What's unique?
Yeah, or from the Philippines and other Asian countries. Yeah.
Look, I think New Zealand's relatively small, right? We have a population of 5 million. Most workplaces are, we'll go with relatively small. It's a very friendly environment. A lot of the people you work with, you'll also socialize with, do sport with, go out on the weekends with. The structures in that we have are fairly friendly. They're not, you're not got big fearful management structures that around. In our organisation, if you're a Linux engineer and this, you can still go up and talk to the managing director, and he's quite happy to have a chat to you about stuff.
And most importantly, have beers with you on a Friday and show up banters.
Exactly.
Indeed. Yep. Indeed.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
It's very, very social as well, with people, going out and doing things at lunchtime if there's, because of the the location of Wellington where we all work. Our offices are a couple of 100 meters to the harbour. And the harbour's nice and clean. People swim in it. People kayak in it. And as well, you were talking about what we do socially, outside of work. It's only a few hours drive to ski fields. It's only a few hours drive to tramping and camping locations. You can drive for an hour and you can pretty much be in wilderness and go get a hut and camp overnight and sit in the riverbed and watch the stars, sort of thing.
And I myself and Joseph know this. I'm big into camping. So I actually bought this, 2-bedroom camping tent that I carry with me, and I need to buy a trailer for that purpose so that I can carry it. It's a canvas and it's very strong, handles a strong wind, so it's very comfortable actually.
And speaking of speaking of going out for lunch, we have traded a lot of Pokemons, Darryl. We are best friends in Pokemon Go. So
that too. Does that get me a lot of kudos in the Filipino community? Does it? One of the things I also do just to keep my exercise up is I'm a Pokemon Go player, and I'm not afraid to admit it.
That's awesome. I mean, I tried that, but I didn't like it, so I stick with finding some caches.
Geocache.
Anyway, so I have another question actually, Darryl. Because our aim for the podcast is to help not only the Filipino but also other potential foreign workers that want to work here in New Zealand. So I want to get your perspective, because you interview me and you were my hiring manager. So and similar to Joseph. So as a hiring manager, besides technical skills and ability to communicate clearly, what are the X factors that you are looking for in your potential hires? I mean.
In your case, it was technical ability, and in Joseph's, it was good looks. So
Okay.
when we're interviewing for people, there's thousands of people out there that have got the skills that you need, right? So you're really looking for what differentiates those people, and I tend to let my team leaders do the technical discussion, and because people either can or they can't do the job. But the things for me is enthusiasm is one of those. If you've got somebody who can talk with enthusiasm and passion about the technologies that they're working with, they're going to be the sort of person that's going to do really well. They're going to continue to grow. They're going to move into different roles in the organization. They're probably self-starters. They're the sort of person who's got a rack at home with a bunch of servers in it, and they've built themselves some sort of cluster, and they're running OpenShift on it, right? And all that sort of stuff. So enthusiasm is one of those things. Willingness to learn and grow is another one. Talking to I've talked to people that says, what's your approach to learning new skills? And they go, I like going on training courses. And I go, well, that's not very good, is it? I mean, okay, I do like sending people on training courses, but what I do like is people who have had done some prior investment themselves. Right.
Personal initiative.
If you're going to go on a training course, you should have a reasonable idea about the technology before you go, so you can get the most out of the course.
That's right.
Right. Otherwise, you're spending the entire course going, "What's all this mean?" So people who will do a bit of pre-research, do some reading beforehand, try and have a play. But people who and it comes back to that other one, right? It's the passion, a bit of passion for the technology.
So it's good. It's good that you mentioned that, because I'm sure there are a lot of capable technical people around the world. And when I was working with you, Darryl, we interviewed very good technical people, but we decided not to hire those people because of possible flaw on their attitude. And until now, I still remember the way we choose our candidates, and I think that's good that you mentioned that.
Yep, and also, Darryl, you touched on this a bit. It's not just the technical side of it, but I mean, you yourself has done a lot of different technologies all throughout those 30 years, right? And nowadays, technology has been rapidly changing, right? We probably don't just need a specific person for database, for example, or Unix admin, for example. So based on the technology landscape, or the landscape in New Zealand at least, what do you think are the hot skills at the moment that employers like you are looking for in New Zealand? Because Datacom is one of the biggest, is probably in fact the biggest in New Zealand and in the region. So what skills are you looking for at the moment?
Okay, I mean, I guess the list of skills that we're looking for aren't much different than what most other people are looking for. In my space, we're looking for people with open source database technology skills. A lot of organizations are looking more to the open source technologies. There's also, as you guys will know, there's microservices type experience with containerization. Agile savvy people are also something we're looking for. So people who know how to work in an agile team, to understand the concepts of scrums and backlogs and all that sort of stuff. So some previous experience, or at least knowledge in that, and automation. So those are probably the main things that we're looking for. And again, it doesn't matter what technology background you've got, whether you're a network guy or a database guy or or girl. Guy in New Zealand is a gender non-specific term. Right? So
that's right.
Everybody's a guy.
Good. Okay.
So whether you're a network person or you're a compute person or a database person or whatever, if you've got a good founding in automation and you understand the agile processes, you'll do well.
Yeah. So you touch a very interesting, at least for me, and I think for Joseph, that that most of your customers are now looking on a open source technology. Why do you think they are looking on moving to open source? Or what do you think are the drivers, Darryl?
I mean, I think probably everybody already understands that. But anyway, but I mean, it's about cost. It's about cost effectiveness, right? The technologies that you can, or the open source technologies that you can use to deliver your solutions are generally lower cost. Most of them these days have some really good support organizations behind them, as well as Red Hat is. I first used Red Hat, I think it was version 2.1, back about 20 years ago, right? And it was just the ability to take, at the time it was take an old piece of kit, throw the CDs in it, and in a short period of time I had a server up and running. Moved workloads onto it, and it was performed a whole lot better than some of the monolithic type infrastructure we had at the time. So it works. It's cheap. I won't say cheap. It's cost effective support. And it's gone from 20 years ago. You'd probably would have said, well, have we got decent support for these things? I don't want to move my enterprise systems onto something where I'm waiting on somebody to come home from school on the other side of the world to provide a little bit of support. To most open source technologies these days have enterprise level support available for them.
That's right.
And just to add in that, Darryl, a lot of the innovations nowadays are coming out from the open source community. And just like when we're doing automation in Datacom, Ansible was just starting to get the traction and all that. And now, as you said, it's enterprise level support and gaining popularity across enterprise organizations worldwide. So that's really good.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, just to add as well, I really believe that community enables innovation, and because it's open source, there are a lot of ideas that comes out from different use cases and circumstances, and that ideas becomes part of a project, and then becomes a feature. So that I think is really a key driver, differentiator as well of open source.
And on that, Mike, speaking of community and collaboration, I think we also can say that the New Zealand workplace is diverse when it comes to culture and different different places. People are coming to New Zealand as a melting pot for different fields. What do you make out of the diversity in the workplace when it comes to New Zealand, Darryl? Having worked with, for example, Filipinos and different people coming from different cultures and different parts of the world.
I guess one of the key things to start off with is the massive debate over which country produces the best dried mango.
Of course, the Philippines does.
I'll go with whoever brings me some dried mango. But
there you go.
We do have the Indian members of our team are telling us that it's India, and we do have the Filipino. the Filipinos. Apparently, the Indian mangoes they can't bring it out of India, so it's got to be the Filipino one, right? Because it's the only one we can get.
Exported quality.
I mean, at one stage we did a bit of a count up, and we had people in our group. So we had a group of about 150 people, and we had people from 23 different countries.
Wow.
And it's not just a question about what you get out of diversity of culture. It's about what you get out of diversity of across a whole range of things. If we stuck with just people that were in New Zealand, then we'd be dealing with just the technologies that existed in New Zealand and with the type of companies that exist in New Zealand. Over the years, we've hired people who have come from IBM in South America, or they've worked in some of the large organizations in India, or people who have come from the Philippines, from various countries through Europe, from America. And even if you've worked in a small to medium business in the US, it's probably as big as some of our biggest organizations here, right? So
that's right.
So you're getting diversity of thought, you're getting a diversity of experience, you're getting diversity of solutions to problems. Things. If you stick to just a small group of people that are all from the same place, you're all going to get think of the same solution. We get that from gender diversity. We get it from age diversity. Recently we had one of our guys retired in the middleware space, right? And he was 72 or 73.
Wow.
I think I hired him. I think I hired him when he was 65, right? And
that's right.
And he said, he said he's got a bunch of good years left in him, yet. So that's great. And you're going to get different answers and different ideas from people who are 20 to people who are 75. But at the end of the day, you want all those ideas, and then you're going to pick the one that's going to be best. But if you, because I've been to a great presentation on creativity and diversity of thought from a guy at Disney, and he pretty much said if you get a whole bunch of 50-year-old American males in a room and say, hey, come up with a new idea, they're all going to exactly agree because they all think exactly the same thing.
Yeah, true.
Right?
That's so true.
Yeah, that's really good point, Darryl. So I'll be, call me a self-centered person here, but I'm going to ask something. Having an experience working with me and Joseph and other Filipinos.
Is that the Filipino mafia, Mike?
Yeah. It's that. Yeah, that's the Filipino mafia. What do you think are the strength of the Filipino IT professionals that you work with in general?
Yeah, I guess one of the things is that everybody that we've experienced has been very technically capable. You've got a drive, to get things done, and everybody I've seen has got a willingness to learn, a willingness to grow. There's and to my detriment, I suppose, in some cases, people have always got that next role in mind about where they want to go and what they've got to do to get there.
Maybe we can. Go ahead, Mike.
Right. Yeah, but that's a good thing about Datacom as well, Darryl. At least you give people with a big runway of opportunity to actually look for roles internally or externally as well.
Just a follow up. Just a follow up on that, Mike. Darryl, what's your personal piece of advice in order for people to grow? Because it can be challenging for some, but what are the career advice that you can give those people who want to grow in their career, specifically on a specific organization?
Yeah, I guess to a wee bit what Mike was talking about was I've been at Datacom for over 10 years now, and I've probably been in 5 or 6 different roles during that time. As an organization, we're big enough for you to be able to do whatever you sort of want in the organization. You don't have to necessarily leave and go somewhere else. You can do your whole career there and bounce around and through different different roles. Whereas previously I'd worked in a government department, and the IT department's relatively small. If you wanted to move to be a project manager, well, we had 2 of them, and one of them has to leave before you become another one.
Right. That's right.
But with Datacom, because we do everything, and there's scale there. You might not be able to do what you want to do tomorrow, but there can be a path for you. I've worked with a lot of graduates that have come into the organisation, as well as people in our service desk. And one of the things that I talk to them a lot about is, decide what it is you want to do. Go and find who actually does that, and spend some time talking to them about their job. Look for opportunities where you can shadow them. A lot of people in the organisation have they'll have a little bit of time now and then where you can go and sit and watch what they do, or listen in on the sort of things they do. Show an interest in the job where you want to go. When that group decides they want to hire another person, or they want to bring a junior of some sort into the team, they're going to go, hey, what about that enthusiastic person that come up and just wanted to know, what a service delivery manager does, or what an architect does. And it comes back to that enthusiasm thing, right? If you're willing to show up to someone and say, "Tell me about your job because I really want to do what you do," that those people will probably give you an opportunity when that opportunity opens up.
And
yeah, that's right.
That's so true. I've seen a lot of those progression, Darryl, and that's really a good opportunity for them to like get out of the normal, services stuff and do more interesting stuff. Really, so that's really good.
Yeah, when I was managing the team, the BAU team, Darryl in Datacom, I remember we have graduates that were introduced to us and we trained, and I can still, I still see them in the road and say hi to them and happy to chat because they progressed their career after that training, and that's really good actually. So, going to that and following that conversation, I think mentoring is important as well within the corporate organization, I would say.
Yeah, and mentoring doesn't just come from someone above, right? It can come from your peers as well. And one of the what we don't want out of people is people who go, this is my job, I've got this knowledge, and I'm going to keep it to myself, right?
True.
So you want people who are willing to share. It's going to be hard for you to move on to your new job if you don't help somebody come and take over from you.
Funny you said that, because that's how I did it. I practically removed myself, automate things, and then move to another role. So
one of the things that like I can do as a manager is try and find opportunity for people to do the things they want to do. But in saying that, you have to own your career. Okay, I don't own your career. You do. So you need to decide what you want to do. You need to decide what you might need to do to get there, and then you need to come and talk to your manager and say, "How can you help me do that?"
That's very
if there's skills you think you want to gain, like I said, find somebody who's got those skills. Talk to them. They're probably quite happy to share resources with you, experiences with you. And then it might be a matter of talking to their manager or your manager and going, "How do I spend some time with that person?" Right.
Exactly.
So it's an ownership thing. Take ownership of your own career. Don't expect somebody else to do it for you.
That's good.
I've had people say to me, "Oh, I've been in this role for 3 years now. When am I going to be made a senior, or when am I going to become an engineer?" And you go, "Well, what have you done? What have you done to get yourself there?"
Yeah, that's good. That's really good, and that's I think I managed to do those things. That's why I managed to move up. When I was in Datacom, I moved to from a Unix lead to become an architect and managed to join Red Hat now. Anyway, we're almost on top of the hour. So one last question that I'm going to ask Darryl is that, what are the challenges that you encounter hiring foreign workers? Let's talk about hiring Filipino in this case.
Okay. Well, I mean, our biggest challenge today is the pandemic, right?
Oh yeah,
of course.
I'm recruiting at the moment. I need another team leader. Are either of you available? No. Okay.
No, we'll pass for now.
We need to drop the fedora hat.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of applicants, but a lot of them are coming in from overseas, or applying from overseas, and we're having to disregard them straight away because there is no way for people who are going to apply for work visas to just come and start a job in New Zealand at the moment.
That's right. No way.
So it's unfortunate, but we're having to just hire people who are currently in the country, But I guess part of that is one of the big challenges for us is that the New Zealand IT market continues to grow quite a lot, and the demand for people way outstrips the supply. So that's why we've had to employ a lot of people from overseas. Just the sheer demand for IT in New Zealand means that we can't knock graduates out fast enough. That we do need to bring in people. The challenges that we have for hiring people from overseas are, the same ones you have anywhere, and that, you at least you can have a Skype interview now, or Zoom or something, so you can see how people react to to questions and things, as opposed to just just hearing a voice over the phone. Hell, historically, you didn't even used to know whether the person you were talking to was the one you were hiring. Although I don't think I've actually had that particular problem. But in particular, I guess we're talking about, you said Filipino candidates. The interview process is the same for everybody, so that's not an issue. There have been some interesting stories, I guess, for hiring people in from the Philippines. At one stage, the Philippine government sent me a letter and told me that I'd exceeded my quota and I wasn't allowed to hire any more Filipinos. But I actually blame you for that, Michael, for recommending way too many of your previous fellow workers that I sort of had to.
I think I recommended 7, and you hired them all.
Yeah, well, I mean, you did only recommend good people, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So it's not like we only had those 7 people apply, right? We had dozens and dozens and dozens of people applying, but and the people that you were recommending were good, and then we hired them, and they came here, and they turned out to be good. That's Joseph we're talking about, and a couple of others. The hiring of people from the Philippines has been problematic, but worthwhile going through the process. There's from us having to go to the Philippine embassy in New Zealand and get the job offer with a nice piece of red ribbon and a gold stamp through it, and provide my photo of my passport and everything to prove that it's a valid offer, and courier it away as opposed to just emailing something. So that's probably, the Philippines is the only place we've had to do that. I've had a lot of interactions with the POEA, so the Philippines Overseas Employment Agency. And they've asked me some very interesting questions, which I won't go into tonight. But but the reality is that the Philippines government, while they might seem to be a little bit difficult to manage with, are really just interested in the welfare of their people. Right.
Exactly.
The Philippines government does not want its citizens leaving the country and being exploited anywhere, and that's right. We understand that's why they make us jump through the hoops that we have to jump through. And if it's you'd just give up if it wasn't for the fact that you were getting good people, right? So the process is worth going through to get the right people for the job.
That's good to know. Yeah,
and you're right. Cool. It's for the welfare of the Filipino, and hopefully we can address some of the processes. Hopefully we can relay that to some government officials as well.
I think the concern they have is for maybe people being taken off to work in plantations somewhere and being exploited and stuff like that. But you're coming to New Zealand, you're getting same salary as people from New Zealand are getting. You're living in the same environments. The benefits that you get as being an employee are the same regardless of where you're from. We have insurance packages for life insurance and medical insurance and a whole bunch of other things that staff members get that make it worthwhile being here.
Yeah, and I can attest to that, because I really love the option or the choice for me to move here in New Zealand is something that I am proud of, and I love living here in Wellington. People are lovely, and example, during the pandemic we can do everything that we want to do, compared to other countries right now. So that's for me is awesome, and I for me to move here is a wonderful thing that happens in my life and family.
And I think you guys have found it the same as me, right? So we're moving into a more hybrid type working environment where we work sometimes in the office and sometimes at home. Our organisation's actually discovered that when we went to our level 4 lockdown, where everybody had to stay at home all the time, that our customers still got the service that they deserved.
Absolutely.
In some cases, our adherence to SLAs and customer satisfaction and things was probably better when people were working from home.
Wow, that's an interesting data. So we've actually gone in the process of going to a reasonably permanent
model where we'll continue to work part-time in the office and part-time at home. So it gives a whole lot of better work-life balance to our people. You cut the commute out, so you don't have to trip in and out of the office a couple of days. Personally, 3 days a week I get to go and have a walk with my wife around the block at lunchtime. Right?
Absolutely, that's lovely.
I have meals at night, or meals during the day as well with my family.
Nice.
Compared to sort of going to work when it's dark, coming home when it's dark, and finding your dinner in the microwave.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, like
cool. Yeah. So I think that's all questions that we have for you, Darryl, and we would like to thank you.
Before we end, I have one more question.
Okay. Go.
Having worked with Filipinos, did you learn any Filipino word, Darryl?
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, we will be selling you to the Filipinos.
No.
No.
We can sell Darryl. He won't understand any.
I think you might have said some bad words about me or something like that, but it was probably just as well I didn't get a dictionary, eh?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, that's it.
All right, yeah. So thank you, Darryl, and that was I think the information that you shared to our listeners is going to help them prepare for on and think about maybe putting New Zealand in their options when they try to find a job abroad. And I think that's really the purpose of this podcast, to help not only the Filipino but other nationalities as well. Thank you very much for allowing us to interview you.
Well, thanks for having me, Mike. And if you want me back on another topic anytime, happy to do that. And if you get any questions, and if you get any questions come out of this particular podcast, happy to answer anything about New Zealand or working here or and living here as well.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. See ya. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Bye.
Cheers.